I like this name, adaptive immunity. That's our third line, because the first line is the skin and membranes, the cilia. That keeps out most invaders. And then we have a second line, these blob-like macrophages. They eat everything, splinters, dirt, bacteria, viruses. But if these guys are starting to lose, then we need help. And that's when the APCs step in. These are antigen-presenting cells, APC. And that's exactly what they do. An antigen is a foreign body. And so I broke this into steps. Ooh, I like this picture. That's one of our white blood cells eating bacteria. They do this while we're sleeping and while we're awake 24 hours a day. So the APC is going to encounter a foreign protein and it's going to go to work. I like this diagram because it shows that all organisms have a surface marker. We have one. All of our cells are marked with a self marker. And that way we can tell when something doesn't belong in our body. We go, hey, that's not my self marker. You need to die. And this diagram is showing that bacteria enters our body. We grab it and we display the marker. You might think, well, you've already killed the invader. Why do you want to reveal what they're wearing? I'll show you why. So here's the story again. Invader gets eaten by one of our APCs. Here's a self marker. The APC is going to strip off the protein marker of the attacker and display it. And now it's going to carry it onwards. Cytokines are released. This makes the capillaries become leaky. You know this feeling. You're starting to get a cold and your nose starts to run and you get congestion and you can't talk very well. Well, that's a good thing because the cytokines are causing the fluids to move into areas that are infected so you can win the battle. We get some edema, that just means swelling. And then the APC, if you remember, it's carrying that marker. Hey guys, this is what's attacking us. This is what they're wearing. It carries it to a C cell because we need help. The macrophage can't do the whole job by itself. So the T cell is going to join in the battle. And this is what the T cell does. Once it gets the message that what's attacking us, it's going to make three kinds of cells. So it's going to divide into a helper T, a memory T for future infections, and the killer cytotoxic. And these are going to help the macrophages. Because, well, here's the APC. They're doing their best, right? But they can't fight alone. Now they have help. Helper Ts are going to attach to the antigen, the foreign invader, and destroy them. And that usually works. But maybe we're on day 3 or day 4 and we're still sick. Maybe something like COVID's got us. Well, that's when the cytotoxic is going to step in. I like these guys. Heavy weaponry here because they're going to release these perforin toxins and they're going to blast holes right through the invader. And even if the invader is hiding out in our cells, because viruses will do this, viruses will go right inside our cells and try to take over the cell. But the cytotoxics can detect that and they will release toxins and blast away and destroy our infected cells. They even do touch kills. Just by touching something, these are photographs of real cytotoxics. Just by touching it, they kill it. Memory T cells, they're supposed to be held in reserve, okay? You guys don't join in the battle because I might need you next time I get exposed. We're not supposed to get the same cold twice because we have memory T cells. Well, now it's maybe day 4 and we are still sick. And it's time for the B cells, our heaviest weapons of all. What the B cells do is they're kind of in the same mix, okay? Here's that antigen, there's the surface marker, there's the APC that's going to eat it right there. display the marker. When it carries it to the B cell does something different than the other guys because it's going to release these proteins called antibodies. And they're going to flag the invader. They're going to just attach that to the invader. And what it does, and here's another diagram, there's the APC doing its best. Whenever you have yellowish mucus coming out your nose when you're sick, a lot of that's just your APCs that are fighting this battle. But they can't fight all these guys. There's so many viruses that some are going to slip by them and escape and go into our lungs. But we have B cells, and they're going to flag the viruses. And so now it's like a light shining on them. And our APCs go, hey, hey, I see them. And they surround them and destroy them. So that's what those antibodies do. They're just proteins that flag the invader. Now, the first time you get sick, it's called primary. It takes 4 to 5 days for your primary to peak. But you usually get sick, yeah? Because in 4 to 5 days, that organism, the virus or bacteria, is now in your lungs. I like the secondary because that's reinfection. Do you remember the memory cells? Well, the memory cells shorten our response down to 2 to 3 days. And that's what vaccines do too, by the way. You get a vaccine, it creates memory cells so that if you get infected, instead of taking 4 to 5 days and now you're sick, in 2 to 3 days, you're at your optimum. And usually you don't get sick. That's why I always wait in line for those vaccines. I get every single one I can. Now we're still on the antibody story. These are proteins, and they're different because IgA is in the mucus of our respiratory and digestive system. And that's the way they do their best job. But some viruses come in clumps. They're like storms clouds full of viruses. And so we have a special IgM that's going to attack. This is a B cell studded with lots of antibodies. Remember the B cells? These are the ones that release the antibodies. We also have IgE, and this one's common in allergies. Unfortunately, if you ever had an antihistamine, that's something to shut down the histamine because inflammation and fever, sometimes we get that from just an allergic reaction. And so histamines can be a problem. Although if we're fighting an infection, we want them. So here it just shows the antibody attaching to the antigen. And in a way, antigens like viruses and bacteria, they don't have a chance. We're going to kill them eventually. We don't always need to take medicine. All right, this chart looks crazy, but let's look at it one step at a time. There's the invading antigen with its surface marker. There's us, our APC blob-like cell, eating the antigen, displaying its marker. Carrying it to, what is this? Helper T. Helper T is going to specialize, right? Memory cells, you guys stay back. You're not in this fight. We're going to need you next year when we get exposed. It's the same thing. Helper T's mature. You guys got to help the macrophages do their job. Killer T or cytotoxic, go to work, man. Blast those guys with perforin. Any idea what this is? How about a B cell releasing antibodies? Antibodies attached to them. It's like a light shining on them. Here they are. Kill them. And our APCs go to work. And pretty soon we're feeling better.